Hello and welcome to an Affinity Revolution tutorial. My name is Ezra Anderson, and today we're going to make 3D text in Affinity Designer. To make our 3D text, the first thing we're going to do is select the Artistic Text tool so we can make a text box. Just click and drag to specify how big you want your text to be, and then you can begin typing. To edit your text, we're going to select the Move tool, and then with the text box selected, we can change its font from the contextual toolbar. If you'd like to use the same font that I'll be using, I've included a download link in the video description. Then I'm just going to make this text a little bit bigger and place it in the center of the document. Next, we're going to duplicate our text box 2 times. We can do this by pressing Command or Ctrl J twice. Then we're going to select the bottom text layer and give it a new stroke color. To change the stroke color, we'll select the stroke color circle up here. Right now we have no stroke on this text, but we can change that by coming to the swatches panel. I've already made some colors that I want to use for this design. If you'd like to use the same colors I'll be using, I've included a download link in the video description for this swatch file. After you've downloaded the swatch file, all you need to do is come to the swatches panel, and then under this menu, you can import the swatches by going to Add Application Palette. I'll change the stroke color for this text box to the dark blue. Then I'll come to the stroke panel and make the stroke thicker. Then we'll convert this text box to curves by coming to the contextual toolbar and pressing on this little triangle and then selecting Convert to Curves. Then we need to ungroup all of the letters by pressing Ungroup in the contextual toolbar. Now you can see that each one of the letters has become its own layer. We want to separate the stroke from the fill of each one of these layers. To do this, we just need to have all of the layers selected, and then we'll come up to the top to Layer, Expand Stroke. Now we just have all of the strokes selected. We can place them all inside of a group by pressing Command or Ctrl G. Then we can select all of the fills of the letters and delete those layers. Then we're going to select this entire group and move it down and to the right. To do this, I'm going to hold down Shift and then use the down and right arrow keys on my keyboard. While holding down Shift, I clicked once on the down arrow key and clicked once on the right arrow key. Depending on your document though, you might want to move your group more or less than this. If you want to move it less, don't hold down Shift while you're using the arrow keys to move the group just ever so slightly. Next, we're going to work on the middle text layer. We want to change the fill color of this text. To do this, I'll come to the color panel and make sure that I'm working with its fill color. Then I'll come to the swatches panel and give it the orange color. Then I'll come to the top layer and give it the yellow color. Then I'll use the Move tool to move this text layer up and to the right. The more you move this text box layer, the thicker your text will appear. Finally, I want to give a background to our design, so I'll use the Rectangle tool to click and drag to make a rectangle going across the document. Then I'll make this rectangle a light blue color, and then send it to the back. At this point, our design is just about done, but before we finish, I want to give you one last tip so you can make all of your letters perfect. If you look closely, you'll notice that the shadows of our letters is sometimes appearing at the top of them. This is definitely not what we want. To fix this, we're going to select the group that contains all of our shadows. Then we can open it by pressing on this triangle icon next to it. Then we can select any of the letter's shadows that we want to edit. As an example, I'm going to work on the letter E. To zoom into the letter E, I'll double-click on its layer icon. Then, with the Node tool selected, I can move any of these nodes around. Since I don't want these nodes appearing above my letter, I'm going to click and drag to select them, and then bring them down. I'll do the same for these nodes at the top. Then I could double click on the letter M's icon, and work on this letter as well. But to keep this tutorial short, I'm not going to go through and edit each one of these letters' shadows. Just know that by using the Node tool, you do have the option to modify any of your letters individually. And if you ever want to modify any of the other text groups, just remember that you need to select the group and then convert it to curves by selecting the Move tool and then selecting Convert to Curves. Then with the Node tool, you can edit the nodes of any of these letters as well. You now have all of the skills you need to make beautiful 3D text in Affinity Designer.